Anyways, we got some masters up in here?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, mastery is a very fascinating topic for me. I've been studying sales, business, persuasion, psychology for many, many years so that I can be a better coach as well. When it comes to mastery, it's essentially blending knowledge and skill in a specific area of expertise. Now, good thing about this is that this is a very specific area of expertise that we can not only master, but it's going to pay the bills for a very, very long time. Now, there's a few fundamentals to mastery that we need to learn about first in order to take that journey towards mastery. Now, there's two different categories first off, all right? You can master things on a quantitative basis, so your sales, your stats, your steps, the number of fix-ups, keeping that low, your customer satisfaction, which we're going to have stats on next year as well. And then there's the qualitative idea of mastery, which is how you actually feel about what you do. Because does anybody really feel very good when they're very good at something? Right? You're really into it when you're really good at something. So it comes down to your enjoyment and your fulfillment. Okay? It comes down to that feeling of accomplishment at the end of the day before you go to bed. Right? It's when all of a sudden your family, your friends stop calling you crazy and start asking you questions. Right? Instead, they stop complaining about how often you work and they start asking you like, wow, how do you do that? What do you say? What's going on? Where do you invest your money? And they start looking at you as somebody to respect. When you start earning people's respect, that's mastery. Okay? Now, how do we get mastery? I was in my research, I found out something very, very interesting. Okay? A lot of us are. How many of us are in our 20s? 20s or under. Okay. Maybe 30s or under. Don't put up your hands. All right. Risky topic, but let's look at our parents or our grandparents. Our parents or our grandparents. How long did they have their jobs for? Okay? How long? Like 20, 30, 40 years? They did not change careers. Now, our parents or the baby boomers nowadays, the statistics are they hold 10 to 15 jobs in their lifetime. Okay? That's a career change every 3 to 5 years. So our grandparents were really, really good at what they did. The baby boomers, okay, 3 to 5 years. Want to know what the average is now for the youth of today? They change careers or jobs every 6 to 9 months. Okay? So can you actually get good or master anything by changing careers every 6 to 9 months? No. Now, the mastery and the actual success comes beyond that point. It comes when you're 2 years, 3 years in. Now, some people in here, they're on their very first year and they're doing phenomenal. We're just scratching the surface. We are just getting started, okay? So they say in order to master something, to become a true master, to be in the top 5%, the top 1%, it's called the rule of 10,000. The rule of 10,000. The rule of 10,000 is simple. You need to put 10,000 hours into something in order to master it. Now, if you do a little bit of math, that's a lot of days. Okay? Now, there's a multiplier here that we need to take into consideration, and that's the 80-20 principle. So you take the 10,000 rule, you times it by the 80-20 principle, which is if you do the top 20%, you're going to get 80% of the results. Does that make sense to everybody so far? So now that actually decreases it to only 2,000 hours that you need to put in order to master something. Okay? Now, how do you do that? Okay, it's Isaac Newton that once said, you got to learn from the giants. Right? I stand on the shoulders of giants. So when you have general managers, excellent workers, executives, Ben Stewart standing up here talking to you every single morning meeting. Why do we do a morning meeting every single day, guys? It's so that you can stand on the shoulders of giants, so that you can take advantage of the 80-20 principle and reduce your 10,000 rule down to the 2,000 rule. You can do what's called best practices for the job, which is going to make you better and be able to master your craft faster. So by putting in the time, okay, learning from the giants, and have this hunger to learning, to advancing, what can you do better? How can you increase your craft? all right? There are Olympic swimmers that will train for weeks and months on end to shave a split second off their time. Okay? Now we can apply all of that to sales, to prepping, to getting driveways done, to getting the next one, to closing. You can break down your entire process and measure it, because what gets measured you can improve upon. Okay? So how do you break down mastery? Well, you can take a look at your numbers, meaning how many people, how many doors you knock on. Ryan Ho used to have a little step counter on his hip. How many literal steps are you taking? Not driving. How many steps? How fast is he running? And he'd time himself. He'd break down his day. Okay? Get faster. 5 steps to high steps. Right? All the systems we put in place are simply to help us master our craft, to improve our numbers. How many people do we talk to? How many people do we get on the driveway? How many people do we close from those people? Our building interest factor. All of our numbers can be broken down. And you can do that to yourself. And then what you do is, once you know your numbers, you can go to a giant and you can say, hey, help me tweak my closing ratio. Help me get more people on the driveway. Okay? Help me move more cars. All right? So all of it takes into play, including what Mr. Greg Ross just talked about and Mr. Levine. It all comes into play under mastery. So, you know, it really comes down that when you stick with something long term, you give yourself the opportunity to become a master. And let's look at the alumni, right? And just so you know, the statistics show second year for a worker is always way more powerful than your first year. Who would agree with this statement? Okay? Whose second year is better than their first? I've seen some people go from here to here, 0 to hero. Okay? And that's because it's simple. It's basic math. If you take the rule of 10,000, but you apply the 80-20 principle, that's about 2,000 hours. Guess what? 2,000 hours, you break that down, if you work a full season, that is exactly 1 season. Pretty interesting. So you can actually master your craft after pounding every single day for an entire season. Now, if you're not that person pounding every day, then you can improve that game. Get more days in. Stick with it. Some people might still be evaluating, well, am I going to be here till the end of August? Do I want to go on these trips? Do I want to be here next year? The simple answer is, if you want to master your craft, yeah, everything. Give me everything. I want to be on the trip. I want to be over here. I want to be over there. Let me be involved in absolutely everything so that I can master my craft. And as you master your craft, you will watch your enjoyment, your fulfillment, and of course, your income, your respect from everybody around you, and all of your camaraderie with the top level players all goes up. So it'll actually increase your happiness and your income. Thank you very much.